So I don't often do this, but I wanted to respond to a few things. And number one, and the biggest one is the reason why I'm responding to it, is there's a few people who believe that I am actually in favor of the HEROES Act, which is the new bill that the House is passing or trying to pass. Um, I've seen some comments and some direct messages at me asking why I'm supporting this. I'm not. Okay, I want to be clear on that. I think maybe I covered it a little too positively because I mentioned that they give us a few crumbs, and that was literally like what I meant. Like there is just a stockpile of money that is going to go to fund a broken healthcare system, health insurance, predatory lending. Uh, there's a lot of horrible things in this bill, and then they just give us a little bit. And all I said and all I meant, I guess, is that, well, at least we're getting something out of this one. Like I'm not saying I would sign on to this at all. Furthermore, I wouldn't because, as Nancy Pelosi put it, this is a statement bill, which means we know it's not going to pass. There's no way the Republican majority Senate is going to pass this bill. So we're just making a statement. We're going to say this is what we want, this is what we stand for moving forward. That is not what I support at all. I would not have any of the bailouts. Number one, for predatory lending. That's fucking ridiculous. Number two, would not have the bailouts for K Street or the lobbyists. I would not be bailing out the health insurance companies. In fact, I would be creating a fund that would do a temporary Medicare for all. I would be implementing a $2,000 a month, a stimulus check, a UBI for the country for the next 4 to 5 months to help people get back on their feet and to get back to some form of normalcy. I would also do rent freezes and mortgage freezes. Uh, there's a lot of things that I would do. And by the way, if your job is being a landlord, I would make sure that you were still getting that $2,000 and that would help you. There's a lot of things in there that I would not do. In fact, the majority of the things in that bill I would not do. Um, so no, I am not for that bill. It's a pretty disgusting piece of legislation, especially, like I said, knowing that it's fictitious. It is basically to make a statement. And that statement basically says, hey, progressives, we don't want you here anymore. We're not going to give you shit. And we're not even going to placate that we would give you anything, knowing that this is not going to pass at all. We're going to tell you how it is. And that's how I stand. That's why I probably won't vote for Biden, being that I've been on the left for quite a long time, but not that far, I guess. I don't know. I guess I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, or it didn't work. And I guess I'll talk about this too. Um, so I did a video about people being offended by masks, and a lot of people were upset. Let me just say this, and I don't know if I did a good job explaining it. Um, but my take on it and my question, and it really was a question that, by the way, no one answered, was if wearing a mask makes the elders in our community feel better, then why not just do it for them? And that was my whole point. Um, I think I used an analogy where I talked about religion. And look, it's true. I'm a complete atheist, but when I go to church for like a wedding or uh, communion or whatever, or I have to go to my parents' house, grandpa, a dinner kind of situation, and people pray. I bow my head and I act like I'm praying. I go along with it because it makes them all feel better. It doesn't do anything to me, but it doesn't make it by doing that, I'm not disregarding my principles. I'm not continuing to not be who I am. I'm just making them feel better. And that's my whole point. Like, if you don't believe in the coronavirus, you think this is all bullshit, you think um, that we're being duped or whatever, fine. But in that moment, going to a store And by the way, when you enter a public store, you don't have rights anymore. It's their place. It's still a privately owned location, owned by Target, owned by Walmart, whatever. You don't get your rights there, by the way, just so you know. But if you're in that kind of place, why is it so hard to put a mask on to make your community feel better? If that's what the elders in our community need, why not give it to them? It's not that big. It's really no skin off your ass. And that was where I said the only thing I can think of is there's a lot of people who are just selfish and I don't want to have to change for anything. But I guess I should have brought this up, and it was something that I maybe alluded to but didn't completely get to it, and it's this. Um, Look, we can have the conversation at some point. Do we believe this is real? Do we believe we're being duped? Whatever. Um, but do you believe that we were in a great economy? Do you believe that our country was in a perfect place before this? Most of my libertarian friends and a lot of people who agree with a lot of the anti-mask people, so to speak, think no. They were never happy. Well, we had a chance to change something. We did. And instead of doing anything, you just focused on the coronavirus. You're still doing it. And look, the people who are scared of it, they're just doing that too. I mean, it's really the lost cause fallacy. Too many people are just focusing on the coronavirus one way or the other. But those of us who wanted to change things, we had that chance. We still do, but no one's really going to act on it. Because instead of organizing, instead of planning, instead of coming up with something um, to change our system, you're just gonna sit here and call me a cuck or a Jew. By the way, I'm not a Jew. You're gonna find evidence to prove that the coronavirus doesn't exist. You're not actually gonna do anything, and I think that's my problem. Why? Yeah, sure. That's the shiny object they want all of us to focus on. Now, I'm not in your camp, but I am a person who does fundamentally want to change this country. Probably not in the same way you do, but at least I want to get started and at least maybe work on a third party. Um, and maybe even not even do it in those in that facet. But there's a million things that we could do. And if you really believe that they're doing this as mind control to make us poor, I really don't know, because I've heard people say, well, they're doing this it's a form of communism. Well, in a communist society, you get things. They're not doing that either. They're just starving us out. Um, so that's not true. But I've heard all sorts of things. Now, I think my critique of your movement is this: proving that the coronavirus doesn't exist. And by the way, so many of you spend, I mean, I looked into your profiles, thousands of hours online staring at this screen instead of actually doing much. Um, and calling me a cuck, or I think I saw that I was retarded. Um, I've had many things apparently. Why not organize? Why not make a movement? And look, it could be something incredibly small that could lead to something big. Something like getting all of your people together, get an organization, a following together that only shops at small businesses, drops out of big corporations. That might seem really, really dumb, really, really small, but let me tell you something. If we cut off Amazon, Target, Walmart, all those big corporations, we would hurt them horribly bad. And it would get to a point of the thing that I'm not hearing people talk about, and that is after this is all done, we're going to end up looking like South Korea, where this entire country is going to be owned by a few companies, because they're all going to consolidate as many small businesses are going out of business. Many mom and pop shops just can't afford it anymore. In swoops Walmart. Many farmers are also going bankrupt. in swoops, these big corporations are going to consolidate and they're going to own us. Because as you're worried about the government, I'm worried about the big corporations. Now, you want to go back to the way things were, and you want to live off the corporation daddy. I'm not down for that. I'm not down for somebody making 2,400 times what I make when they did nothing to earn it. I'm not cool surviving on scraps. I want to thrive, and there is a path forward. But it's not spending your time calling me a douche and trying to placate to your own ideology that a virus is real or not real. You can actually change things and get things done. Again, I don't know if you're going to. I don't really think you will. I don't think anyone will. It's there, though. Instead, they got you wanting to go back to the way things were. Well, maybe you should take a beat and think about, were you happy the way things were? Were things going the way you wanted them to? I guarantee you a bunch of you are going to say no. Well, then do something. You have this opportunity. It's right here in front of you. Do it. Something like organizing to only buy local would change the landscape of so many things. We could unseat many of the powerful, because many small business owners and many local shops aren't lobbyists and don't give to lobbyists. Well, there you go. We're taking money out of politics. Now, granted, yeah, small businesses aren't going to carry everything you want. And then maybe it'll also bring up the conversation, hey, why can't I buy a t-shirt in this damn town if it's not from Walmart? And maybe another business will show up that sells a t-shirt. And yeah, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. And that kind of sucks. And it's not going to always have everything you want. But that's the price we're going to have to pay. But I guarantee you, doing something as simple as that and organizing around something like that is going to make such a much bigger impact than just sitting on 4chan and talking about how the virus is controlling people and everyone's drones and everyone's mind controlled. Well, who's mind controlled? As you want to go back working for your corporate daddy, living off scraps. Who's really awake and who's asleep right now? It's time to stop focusing so much on this goddamn virus. Especially if you don't believe it's real. Look, I've said it. I don't believe in God. Do you know I don't spend any time in Christian chat rooms trolling all the Christians? I don't spend time yelling at churches. No, because I don't really think it's real. I don't think it's worth my time. All I'm saying is, do something. Get out and actually make a difference, because we do have that opportunity right now. And yeah, maybe someone like me, you probably think I'm a scumbag Jew, as I've heard someone call me. Again, not Jewish, but if I was, I would be a lot funnier. It'd be great. But some form of us actually agrees. We don't like the system that we're living in. We do think that there is major problems in our infrastructure. And not just roadways and bridges. No, I mean the infrastructure of our government, of our country. You believe the government runs everything. I believe corporations run everything. Either way, it's a problem. And I know I'm not talking about marching down to D.C. with guns. That's just dumb, and it won't work. Because they need our money. They're always going to need our tax money. We can fight that back. We can actually create our own communities where we're not dealing with them as much. There's ways that we can do things, but we're never even going to have that conversation because we spend so much time, albeit race or religion or whatever, fighting each other, instead of actually saying, hey, you know what, I actually don't like those people either. I don't know. That was my whole point. I think a lot of people took it the wrong way. And maybe not. Maybe I'll look at this and just be like, nah, you're a fag. Shut up. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. You have a great weekend.